6 electric vehicle brands are in serious trouble in America right now, and one of them is about to stop selling new cars here completely. Not a struggling startup nobody has heard of. A brand you probably assume is doing just fine. Billions of dollars in losses. Sales crashing by 60, 70, even close to 90% in a single year. Plants slowing down, workers being cut, and one company quietly preparing to walk away from American showrooms altogether. Number 1 on this list is going to surprise you, because it is not the name most people expect. Every single brand on this list was, at some point, presented to American buyers as a safe bet, a smart purchase, a sign that the electric future had already arrived in their driveway. The numbers behind the scenes tell a very different story, and by the time we reach number 1, you will understand why almost nobody in this country saw it coming. Let us get straight into it, starting with number 6.
Number 6, Kia.
For a while, Kia looked like proof that a mainstream brand could nail the electric vehicle formula. The EV6 and the EV9 were praised by reviewers, priced reasonably, and actually looked good sitting in a driveway. That reputation was real. The sales numbers backing it up are not. Kia's electric vehicle sales in America fell from around 56,000 vehicles to under 34,000 in a single year, a drop of nearly 40%. Then the first quarter of this year hit, and electric sales fell almost 40% again, leaving Kia with only about 2% of the entire American electric vehicle market. Here is the mechanism driving that collapse in demand. Buyers who once considered going fully electric are choosing a hybrid instead, often from Kia's own lineup, because a hybrid delivers most of the fuel savings without range anxiety, without charging stops, and without paying a premium for a battery pack.
That is the squeeze.
Regulations and production plans assumed steady electric growth. Real-world buyers chose the easier, cheaper hybrid alternative sitting right next to it on the same lot. For the American owner, this quiet decline matters more than headlines suggest. When a brand's electric line loses momentum this fast, dealers start allocating less floor space and fewer trained technicians to it. Resale values soften because buyers notice a brand pulling back before the brand ever says so publicly. What happens next for Kia likely means fewer electric variants pushed hard in advertising, more incentives on the EV6 and EV9 to clear existing stock, and a much louder push toward hybrid versions of vehicles Kia already sells successfully. Number 5, BMW. German engineering built its entire reputation on the promise that performance and precision do not have to be sacrificed for anything, including going electric.
For a moment, that promise held.
Then the numbers turned. BMW's electric vehicle sales fell by around 17% last year, and that decline accelerated hard into this year, with first quarter electric sales down more than 63% compared to the same period 12 months earlier. A brand that once felt like the safest bet in luxury electric vehicles is now sitting at roughly 2% of the total American electric vehicle market. This is not a company facing bankruptcy. BMW remains a massive, profitable global automaker with a diversified lineup. But the electric transition specifically is faltering in the United States, and the fix is not quick. BMW is now leaning heavily on an entirely new platform, often referred to as its next-generation architecture, and that is a multi-year bet, not something that turns sales around next quarter. The pressure squeezing BMW comes from both directions at once. Regulatory expectations push the company to commit hard to electrification years in advance. Meanwhile, Tesla owns the software and charging ecosystem story, Hyundai and Kia undercut on price, and even Cadillac is chasing the exact luxury electric buyer BMW built its strategy around. For American BMW electric owners, the real risk is technological aging. Luxury buyers expect their vehicle to feel current, and when a brand's electric lineup stalls while a true next-generation platform sits years away, existing electric BMW models can start feeling outdated faster than gasoline models typically do, which hits trade-in value directly. What happens next depends almost entirely on execution. If the new platform arrives on schedule and actually delivers the range and pricing BMW is promising, the brand could stabilize quickly, given how much financial cushion the rest of the company still provides. If it slips, BMW risks becoming technologically respected but commercially irrelevant in the American electric vehicle conversation.
Number 4, Mercedes-Benz.
This is the one that should genuinely worry people, because it breaks the usual explanation for a struggling car brand. Mercedes-Benz sold only around 12,900 electric vehicles in the United States last year, a drop of roughly 54%. Then the free fall continued into this year, with first quarter electric sales down close to 69%. Leaving Mercedes-Benz holding less than 1% of the entire American electric vehicle market. Normally, when a brand's sales collapse like this, the story is bloated inventory sitting unsold on dealer lots.
Not here.
Industry inventory tracking actually placed Mercedes-Benz among the brands with relatively low electric vehicle stock. In other words, this was not a company that overproduced and got caught flat-footed. This looks like a genuine demand problem for one of the most prestigious badges in the entire automotive industry, and that is a far scarier signal than an inventory glut, because prestige alone was supposed to be the safety net. The pressure from below is relentless. Tesla dominates the software and ecosystem conversation. BMW and Porsche fight for the same performance-minded luxury buyer. Hyundai, Kia, and Cadillac keep closing the gap on quality while undercutting heavily on price. For the American driver who already owns or leases a Mercedes-Benz electric vehicle, this translates into depreciation curves far steeper than the gasoline Mercedes-Benz lineup has ever experienced, along with a very real chance that dealer investment in electric-specific service infrastructure slows if volume does not turn around soon. What happens next for Mercedes-Benz likely involves fewer electric model variants, a slower rollout schedule, and a far heavier emphasis on hybrid powertrains within its existing lineup, essentially buying time until either battery costs fall or American demand for luxury electric vehicles genuinely recovers.
Number 3, Ford.
No brand promised a bigger electric revolution in America than Ford did with its trucks. The F-150 Lightning was supposed to prove that America's best-selling vehicle nameplate and electric power were not at odds, that Ford could simply electrify what it already dominated and keep winning. That story held for a while.
It does not hold anymore.
Ford sold around 84,000 electric vehicles in the United States last year, down about 14% from the year before, with the Lightning itself falling more than 18% and the e-Transit commercial van collapsing by nearly 60%. Then this year got worse. In the first half of this year, Ford's electric vehicle sales fell by more than 57% year over year, with a Mustang Mach-E down close to 47%. By June, Ford was sitting on nearly 7,000 unsold electric vehicles, calculated by industry analysts as roughly 88 days' worth of supply at the current sales pace. Some quarterly comparisons placed the decline even closer to 70%. Industry reporting also indicates Ford has been quietly scaling back its electric ambitions, stepping away from expanding Lightning production the way it once planned. The mechanism here is almost textbook. Ford poured billions into electric truck development, assuming demand would keep climbing in lockstep with regulatory pressure. Instead, buyers who specifically want an electric truck now have other options, while buyers who simply want a dependable truck are sticking with Ford's gasoline and hybrid lineup, which remains enormously profitable. Ford is now visibly prioritizing hybrids, extended range vehicles, and lower-cost platforms over chasing rapid electric volume growth. For American Ford truck owners, this is a direct financial risk. Electric truck buyers paid a premium expecting the same legendary resale value gasoline F-150 trucks have held for decades. If Ford keeps retreating from an aggressive electric truck push, Lightning owners could watch resale values fall far faster than traditional truck owners have ever had to worry about, alongside slower parts turnaround as dealer priorities shift back toward gasoline and hybrid inventory. What happens next for Ford likely means a smaller, more disciplined electric lineup focused on profitable segments, continued strength in gasoline and hybrid trucks carrying the company financially, and a real risk that Ford cedes its early advantage in electric pickups to Tesla, General Motors, and newer entrants willing to keep investing while Ford pulls back.
Number 2, Nissan.
This is where the story stops being about one struggling electric model and becomes something much bigger. The Ariya was supposed to be Nissan's electric comeback, proof that the company that once pioneered the Leaf could still compete in the modern era. Instead, in the first quarter of this year, Nissan's electric vehicle sales in America fell by nearly 89% year over year, leaving the brand with less than half of 1% of the entire American electric vehicle market. That number alone would be a crisis for any single automaker. For Nissan, it is happening at the worst possible moment. The corporate forensics are severe. Nissan reported a full-year loss of approximately 533 billion yen, which converts to roughly 3.4 billion American dollars, following another massive loss the year before. In response, Nissan has been closing manufacturing plants and has announced plans to eliminate approximately 20,000 jobs worldwide by the year 2028. This is not a company quietly struggling with one product line while everything else hums along fine. This is a company restructuring its entire global operation, while its American electric vehicle presence nearly disappears at the exact same time. The pressure squeezing Nissan comes from every direction simultaneously. Global competitiveness demands and aggressive cost-cutting are forcing plant closures and layoffs. Hybrid competitors and increasingly capable manufacturers overseas are draining resources Nissan would otherwise use to fund a stronger American electric push. The result is a brand at serious risk of becoming almost irrelevant in the American electric vehicle conversation, precisely when it can least afford to lose ground anywhere in the world. For American Nissan owners, the anxiety around parts availability, warranty support, and long-term dealer investment is completely fair to raise, because a company cutting 20,000 jobs and closing plants typically slows investment in exactly the kind of service infrastructure existing owners depend on. What happens next for Nissan hinges on whether this restructuring plan restores profitability fast enough to fund a genuine electric comeback, or whether the company ends up permanently ceding the American electric vehicle market to competitors while it fights to stabilize everywhere else. And now, number 1, the brand almost nobody saw coming.
Polestar.
Here is why this one earns the top spot, and why it is the single most surprising name on this entire list. Polestar's global sales actually rose last year, climbing approximately 34% to around 60,119 vehicles worldwide. On paper, that reads like a genuine success story.
It is not.
Despite that growth, Polestar reported a staggering net loss of approximately $2.36 billion for the year. Rising sales and a multi-billion-dollar loss happening at the same time is exactly the kind of contradiction that should make anyone pause and ask what is really going on underneath the surface. But the truly shocking part is what comes next. Polestar has confirmed it will stop selling new vehicles in the United States beginning with the 2027 model year. Let that sit for a second. A brand with rising global sales, backed by Volvo and Geely, carrying the kind of Scandinavian design reputation Americans associate with quality and modern electric innovation, is voluntarily stepping back from selling new cars in the American market. This is not a company collapsing overnight. It can still sell remaining inventory, continue servicing existing vehicles, and honor current warranties, according to statements the company has made publicly. But its growth strategy in America has been sharply and deliberately cut, by choice, not by immediate financial ruin. The forces behind this decision are layered. Tariff pressures and shifting trade dynamics have made operating in the American market significantly more complicated and expensive for Polestar specifically. At the same time, the brand never reached the scale of Tesla, never matched the price competitiveness of Hyundai and Kia, and never built the brand recognition of established luxury players like BMW and Mercedes-Benz. Caught between those pressures, Polestar made the calculated decision that continuing to fight for new American customers was not worth the cost, at least for now. For American consumers who already own a Polestar, or who are considering buying one before this transition fully takes effect, the impact deserves honest attention rather than panic. Fewer new vehicles arriving means less ongoing investment in software and features specific to the American market. A shrinking retailer and service footprint likely means longer waits for specialized parts, since a smaller network naturally holds less regional inventory. Resale confidence tends to weaken the moment any brand announces a market pullback, even when service and warranties officially remain fully in place, simply because buyers grow uneasy about long-term support. To be clear, this is not confirmed as a permanent goodbye, and Polestar has left the door open to a possible return if trade conditions or company strategy shift down the road. But right now, in the middle of this year, a brand many Americans assumed was thriving is preparing to walk away from selling new vehicles here entirely. That is exactly why Polestar takes the number 1 spot. What happens next depends heavily on continued backing from Geely and Volvo, sustained demand in Europe and other international markets, and whether tariff and trade conditions ever shift enough to justify Polestar bringing new vehicles back to American showrooms down the line. So what does all of this actually reveal about the American electric vehicle market? It tells us the market itself is not dying. New electric vehicle sales in June came in at approximately 74,967 units nationwide, down about 27.8% from the year before, with electric vehicles representing around 5.4% of all new vehicle sales that month. That is a real slowdown, but it is not a market in freefall. What it actually exposes is something more specific. Some brands are losing customers far faster than the overall market is shrinking, while others, including Tesla, continue holding a dominant share even as their own sales cool slightly. Meanwhile, used electric vehicle sales were actually up significantly compared to the year before, and hybrid sales kept climbing, which suggests American buyers are not necessarily rejecting electrification itself. They are becoming more selective, more price-conscious, and far less patient with any brand that cannot deliver affordability, reliable charging, and dependable long-term service all at the same time. That is the thread connecting every single brand on this list. Kia built a genuinely good product but could not sustain the sales pace that justified its own production planning. BMW and Mercedes-Benz leaned on prestige alone and discovered prestige does not automatically translate into electric vehicle demand. Ford bet enormous resources on electric trucks before that market fully matured, and is now quietly pulling those resources back. Nissan is fighting a company-wide financial crisis while its American electric presence evaporates in the middle of it. And Polestar, despite growing worldwide, still could not justify the cost of continuing to chase brand new American buyers. Here is the part that matters most for you, the person actually watching this. When a car brand shrinks or pulls back from a market like this, it is never the executives or the board of directors who absorb the real consequences. Executives move on to new roles. Factories eventually retool for different products. Corporate balance sheets stabilize one way or another, given enough time. The people who genuinely pay the price are everyday drivers, the ones sitting in their driveway right now with a vehicle depreciating faster than they expected, waiting weeks for a replacement part because the dealer network quietly shrank, or wondering whether their warranty will still mean anything 3 years from now if the brand keeps pulling back the way these 6 are pulling back today. So tell me, out of all 6 brands we just walked through, which decline shocked you the most? Was it Ford's retreat from its own electric truck revolution, Nissan's massive company-wide crisis unfolding at the exact same time its electric sales collapsed, or Polestar's decision to stop selling new vehicles in America altogether despite growing everywhere else in the world? If you already own one of these vehicles, drop your honest experience in the comments below, whether that means solid service so far or real concerns about resale value and long-term support. Somebody deciding right now whether to buy one of these 6 brands needs to hear it from you directly, not from a dealership trying to close a sale. And if this kind of deep dive into what is really happening behind the numbers is something you want more of, this channel is where that conversation keeps going, one brand, one balance sheet, and one honest breakdown at a time.